Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Giver. Today we are going to do Chapter 7 and find out what's going on. I'm honestly pretty excited because we're going to see something about this ceremony of the 12s. So grab your book and let's get started. Chapter 7. Now Jonas's group had taken a new place in the auditorium, trading with the new 11s, so they swapped out, so that they sat in the very front immediately before the stage. They were arranged by their numbers. Their numbers had been given at birth. The numbers were rarely used after the naming, but each child knew his number. Of course, sometimes parents use them in irritation, like when they're annoyed at the child's misbehavior, when they're bad, indicating that mischief, when they're bad, made one unworthy of a name. Jonas always chuckled when he heard a parent exasperated, with a Z, exasperated, like they can't believe it, call sharply to a whining toddler, "That's enough, 23. That's enough, 23. You don't have a name anymore, 23. Jonas was 19. He had been 19, new child. What? Here we go, already. He had been the 19th new child born this year, which meant that at his naming, he had already been standing, bright-eyed, soon to walk and talk. Oh, so he was born early in the year. Okay. That had given him a slight advantage to the first year or two, a little more maturity, so he was older, right, than many of his group mates who had been born in the later months of that year. So he was older by proxy, right? He was born in the beginning of the year. But it evened out, as it always did, by 3. After 3, the children progressed at much the same level, though by their first number one could always tell who was a few months older than others in his group. Technically, Jonas's full number was 1119, since there were other 19s, of course, in each age group. And today, now that the new 11s had been advanced this morning, there were 2 1119s. At the midday break, he had exchanged smiles with the new one, a shy female named Harriet. It's weird. Hi, 19. I'm 19. But the duplication, double, was only for these few hours. Very soon he would not be an 11, but a 12, and age would no longer matter. Okay. He would be an adult, like his parents, though a new one and untrained still. Asher was 4, and sat now in the row ahead of Jonas. He would receive his assignment 4th. Okay, makes sense. Fiona, 18, was on his left. On his other side sat 20, a male named Pierre, whom Jonas didn't like much. Pierre was very serious, not much fun, and a worrier and a tattletale too. So he liked to tell the teacher, "He's doing something bad." "Have you checked the rules, Jonas?" Pierre always whispering solemnly. "I'm not sure that's within the rules. Usually it was some foolish thing that no one cared about. Opening his tunic if it was a day with a breeze. Taking a brief try on a friend's bicycle just to experience the different feel of it." I got the same bikes, though. I guess. The initial speech at the ceremony of 12 was made by the chief elder, the leader of the community who was elected every 10 years. The speech was much the same each year. Recollection, so remembering, recollection, of the time of childhood and the period of preparation, the coming responsibilities of an adult life, the profound, serious importance of assignment, and the seriousness of training to come. Then the chief elder moved ahead in her speech. "This is the time," she began, looking directly at them, "when we acknowledge differences." Oh, so how each person's different. "You 11s have spent all of your years till now learning to fit in, to standardize your behavior." So to be all exactly the same, right? Little robots. To curb any impulse, desire that might set you apart from the group. But today we honor your differences. They have determined your futures. Interesting. She began to describe this year's group and its variety of personalities. Though she singled no one out by name, she mentioned that there was one who had singular skills at caretaking, another who loved new children, one with unusual scientific aptitude. Aptitude means ability. And a fourth whom physical labor was an obvious pleasure. That's weird. I don't. Do you enjoy physical labor? Jonas shifted in his seat, trying to recognize each reference as one of his groupmates. The caretaking skills were no doubt those of Fiona on his left. He remembered noticing the tenderness, how gentle, right, with which she had bathed the old. Probably the one with scientific aptitude was Benjamin, the male who had devised, created, new important equipment for the rehabilitation center. He heard nothing that he recognized as himself, Jonas. Aw, so he's kind of embarrassed by that, right? I didn't say nothing about me. Finally, the chief elder paid tribute, right? They honored somebody, to the hard work of her committee, which had performed the observations, watched, so meticulously. Meticulously means carefully. They carefully watched. Where are we at? All year. The committee of elders stood and was acknowledged by applause. Jonas noticed Asher yawn slightly, covering his mouth politely with his hand. Then at last the chief elder called number 1 to the stage, and the assignment began. Ooh, here we go. Each announcement was lengthy, accompanied by a speech directed at the new 12. Jonas tried to pay attention as one, smiling happily, received her assignment as fish hatchery attendant, so where they raise fish. Along with words of praise for her childhood spent doing many volunteer hours there, and her obvious interest in the important process of providing nourishment, food and healthy stuff, for the community. Number 1, her name was Madeline, returned, finally amidst applause while people clapped, to her seat wearing new badge that designated her as a fish hatchery attendant. Jonas was certainly glad that assignment was taken. He wouldn't have wanted it. That'd be kind of fun. But he gave Madeline a smile of congratulations. When a female named Inger received her assignment as birth mother, Jonas remembered that his mother had called it a job without honor. But he thought that the committee had chosen well. Inger was a nice girl, though somewhat lazy, and her body was strong. She would enjoy the 3 years of being pampered that would follow her brief training. She would give birth easily and well, and the task of laborer that would follow would use her strength, keep her healthy, and impose self-discipline. Inger was smiling when she resumed her seat. Birth mother was an important job, if lacking in prestige. He's 12. Okay? This is an observation that an adult would make, and technically he's becoming an adult, but wow, right? Wow, she's well suited for that. Okay? Jonas noticed that Asher looked nervous. He kept turning his head and glancing back at Jonas until the group leader had to give him a silent chastisement, like, stop it, but they didn't say anything. A motion to sit still and face forward. 3, Isaac was given an assignment as instructor of the 6s, which obviously pleased him as he was well-deserved. Was well-deserved. There were 3 assignments gone, none of them ones that Jonas would have liked. Not that he could have been a birth mother anyways, he realized with amusement. Yeah. He tried to sort through the list in his mind, the possible assignments that remained. But there were so many he gave up. And anyways, now it was Asher's turn. He paid strict attention to his friend. Struggling today, huh? He paid strict attention as his friend went to the stage, and stood self-consciously behind the chief elder. All of us in the community know and enjoy Asher. Uh-oh, the chief elder began. Asher grinned and scratched one leg with the other foot. The audience chuckled softly. When the committee began to consider Asher's assignment, she went on, there were some possibilities that were immediately discarded, like, you can't do this. Some that would clearly not have been right for Asher. For example, she said, smiling, we did not consider for an instant designating Asher as an instructor of the threes. So he's not good enough to be a teacher, right? No, no, no. The audience howled with laughter. Asher laughed too, looking sheepish, like, yeah, that's kind of me. I'm a dork. But pleased at the special attention. The instructors of threes were in charge of the acquisition, right, getting, of correct language. In fact, the chief elder continued, chuckling a little herself, we even gave little thought to some retroactive, like past. We missed it and we should go back and punish these people. Chastisement, punishment, for one who had been Asher's instructor of threes so long ago. So they say we should have punished his teacher. At the meeting where Asher was discussed, we retold many of the stories that we all remembered from his days of language acquisition. Especially, she chuckled, the difference between snack and smack. Remember Asher? Asher nodded ruefully, like, yeah, I remember that. The audience laughed aloud. Jonas did too. He remembered, though, that he had been only 3 at the time himself. The punishment used for small children was a regulated system, so a very organized system, of smacks with the discipline wand, a thin, flexible weapon that stung painfully when it was wielded. It's like a ruler or something, right? The child care specialists were trained very carefully in the discipline methods. A quick smack across the hand for a bit of minor misbehavior. 3 sharper smacks on the bare leg for a second offense. Like, you do it again, it's a little worse. Poor Asher, who always talked too fast and mixed up his words, even as a toddler. As a 3 eager for his juice and crackers at snack time, one day he said smack instead of snack as he stood waiting in line for the morning treat. Jonas remembered it clearly. He could still see little Asher wiggling with impatience, like he's ready. In the line, he remembered the cheerful voice call out, I want my smack. The other 3s, including Jonas, had laughed nervously. Snack, they corrected. You mean snack, Asher. But the mistake had been made, and precision of language, so accuracy, right, of language was one of the most important tasks of small children. Asher had asked for a smack. The discipline wand in the hand of the care child worker whistled as it came down across Asher's hand. Asher whimpered, cringed, and corrected himself instantly. Snack, he whispered. But the next morning he had done it again, and again the following week. He couldn't seem to stop, though. For each lapse in discipline, like each mistake, the discipline wand came out again, escalating, raising up, escalating, to a series of painful lashes that left marks on Asher's legs. He's kind of stupid, isn't he? Eventually, for a period of time, Asher stopped talking altogether when he was a 3. So he kept making some mistakes. He just stopped talking, like, right? Can't get hit. For a while, the chief elder said, relating the story, we had a silent Asher, but he learned. She turned to him with a smile. When he began to talk again, it was with greater precision. And now his lapses are very few. His corrections and apologies are very prompt, because he still makes mistakes. And his good humor is unfailing, so he's always happy. The audience murmured in agreement. Asher's cheerful disposition was well known throughout the community. Just a nice kid. He's not smart. She lifted her voice to make the official announcement. We have given you the assignment of Assistant Director of Recreation. Oh, okay. Got nervous, like, what? Assistant Director of Recreation. Yeah. It's like Supreme Counselor of Garbage Sanitation. It's like not a crazy job, but it's a good one for him. She clipped on his new badge as he stood beside her, beaming. So he's happy. He's like, yeah, I'm in charge of recreation. Or assistantly in charge. Then he turned and left the stage as the audience cheered. When he had taken his seat again, the chief elder looked down at him and said the words that she had said now 4 times, and would say to each new 12. Somehow she gave it special meaning for each of them. Asher, she said, thank you for your childhood. Ooh, that's kind of scary, right? Childhood, done. It's over. You gave it to us. You lived it. It's over. It's kind of like, ugh. The assignments continued, and Jonas watched and listened, relieved now by the wonderful assignments his best friends had been given. But he was more and more apprehensive, so he's getting worried as his own approached. Now the new 12s in row ahead of him had all received their badges. They were fingering them as they sat, so they were playing with them on their shirt, you know. And Jonas knew that each one was thinking about the training that lay ahead. For some, one studious male had been selected as doctor, dope, that's cool, a female as engineer, awesome, and another for law and justice, dope, those are cool jobs, man. It would be years of hard work and study, very true. Others, like laborers and birth mothers, would have a much shorter training period. 18, Fiona, was on his left, was called. Jonas knew she must be nervous, but Fiona was a calm female. She had been sitting quietly, serenely, just everything's good, everything's great, throughout the ceremony. Even the applause, though enthusiastic, seemed serene when Fiona was given the important assignment of caretaker of the old. It was perfect for such a sensitive, gentle girl, and her smile was satisfied and pleased when she took her seat beside him again. Jonas prepared himself to walk to the stage when the applause ended, and the chief elder picked up the next folder and looked down to the group to call forward the next new 12. He was calm now that it was his turn. He was calm now that his turn had come. He took a deep breath, smoothed his hair with his hand. 20, he heard her voice say clearly. Pierre. Whoa, what? She skipped me, Jonas thought, stunned. Had he heard wrong? No. There was a sudden hush in the crowd, and he knew that the entire community realized that the chief elder had moved from 18 to 20, leaving a gap. On his right, Pierre, with a startled look, rose from his seat and moved to the stage. A mistake. She made a mistake. But Jonas knew, even as he had thought. You missed one word and it doesn't make sense. But Jonas knew, even as he had thought that she hadn't. The chief elder made no mistakes, not at the ceremony of 12. He felt dizzy and couldn't focus his attention. He didn't hear what assignment Pierre received and was only dimly aware, barely aware, of the applause as the boy returned, wearing his new badge. Then 21, 22. The numbers continued in order. Jonas sat dazed as they moved into the 30s and then the 40s, nearing the end. Each time, at each announcement, his heart jumped for a moment, and he thought wild thoughts. Perhaps now she would call his name. Could he have forgotten his own number? No, he had always been 19. He was sitting in the seat marked 19. But she had skipped him. He saw the others in his group glance at him, embarrassed, and then look away, avert their eyes quickly. He saw a worried look on the face of his group leader. He hunched his shoulders and tried to make himself smaller in the seat. He wanted to disappear, to fade away, to not exist. He didn't dare to turn and find his parents in the crowd. He couldn't bear to see their faces darkened with shame. Jonas bowed his head and searched through his mind. What had he done wrong? I'll tell you what, chapter 8 is going to be something special. Let me find it. Okay, now that we've finished chapter 8, see, I didn't clap loud that time. Let's take a look at our questions. But man, that was an interesting chapter. Why do you think that they skipped him? Oh, that's actually one of the questions. So let's look at our worksheet. Remember, you can get this worksheet at the link down below the video on the website. Just click the image of the worksheet, right click, save as. You've got the worksheet, okay? So let's take a look at our questions. Question number 1. When Asher was a 3, why do you think he stopped talking? We know that already. We talked about that a little bit. Question number 2. What does the chief elder say after each 12 gets their assignment? Why does she say that? What do you think? Kind of talked about that too. Oops. Number 3. Why do you think there was humor during the ceremony when the chief elder remembered the lives of the children? Interesting, right? Everything's so sterile and nobody seems to have fun. Question number 4. Why do you think Jonas was skipped in the ceremony? And that's the big question, right? Why was he skipped? We have to go to chapter 8. I hope we find out in chapter 8. I'll be mad if we don't, won't you? Okay, I will see you for the next chapter. Remember, write down your answers. Come up with some good answers. You're good at English, so write full responses. And I'll see you for chapter 8 when we find out what happened.